Yes, many schools are already back in session, which is crazy. And yes, technically graphic novel month was in July, which is last month. Nevertheless, I have 4 graphic novels for summer, which I would love to share with you today. Hello, I'm Robin at Bookbound Mama, and on this channel, I love to share about great books, especially children's books. So without further ado, let's get into the ones for today. I recently did a video with 9 picture books for summer, so I had this idea to share some graphic novels as well, sort of on my radar for the future. And despite what schools are trying to tell us, we are technically only about halfway through the season of summer as I'm recording this, so I am sticking with it. I am not as familiar with graphic novels as I am with children's chapter books or picture books, but my daughter is a huge fan of graphic novels, and so I am getting introduced to this format, and I absolutely love it. Definitely a future video on the horizon for sharing all about the awesomeness of graphic novels. But for today, I just wanted to share about these 4 graphic novels for summer. This first book, lo and behold, is by Wendy Mass. This was published in 2023. It was illustrated by Gabby Mendez, and coloring was done by Kai Tse. I am going to fully admit I did not want to read this book based on the cover. I am quite technology resistant. So when I saw the VR goggles, I just thought this really wouldn't land for me. I also have astrophobia. It is a thing. It is a fear of space. And so when I also saw hints of outer space on the cover, I just thought this book wouldn't be a good fit for me, even though I have loved many of Wendy Mass's other books. But my daughter read and reread this book, as she does with a lot of her books. But this particular one, she recommended to me. And I sort of nodded along and hoped that she would forget. And then she recommended it to me again. Okay, and maybe again. So finally one day I took the book and sat outside and thought I'd at least try a little bit of it so I could tell her I had tried it. And lo and behold, I loved it, of course, right? Flew through the entire book in one gulp and was weeping by the end, and highly recommending this book to anybody who would listen. This is a beautiful book about so much more than virtual reality and outer space, of course. It's about empathy and friendship and facing tough things and making the world a better place. If you are going to read one book from this video, try this one. And now, what middle school graphic novel summer book list would be complete without a trip to camp? I never went to camp as a kid, so books like these are sort of my only window into that experience. But I have 2 graphic novel camp books to share with you today. One of them is called, wait for it, Camp. This one is by Kayla Miller, and it was published in 2019. With additional coloring by Miguel Coe. This book is part of a well-loved series by Kayla Miller. If you're in the graphic novel middle grade world, then maybe you've seen some of these. They've all got one-word titles like Click or... Okay, I'm blanking on what they are all called. But for those of you who know what I'm talking about, these are those books. This was the second book in the series. So the star of the series is a girl named Olive. And in this book, she and her best friend Willow are going to summer camp for the first time. And Olive is very outgoing. She wants to experience camp and make friends and try all the activities. But her best friend Willow is way more reluctant. Willow only wants to be with Olive and only wants to do things with Olive. So the book follows these 2 friends and their dynamic as they try to navigate being friends in this new space with different expectations and different comfort levels. I've actually read this book twice now, and it's so interesting how differently I saw it each time. So the first time I read it, I really empathized with Olive, which is interesting because I would definitely be more of the Willow in this situation. But I really felt the weight, how Olive just felt really tied down by her friends' expectation that she should only want to be with her. This most recent time that I read the book, I definitely empathized way more with Willow. I think recently in my life, I have come to really accept and embrace that I am an HSP, a highly sensitive person. I think there's this general societal expectation or belief that highly sensitive people just need to get over it and that it's something to get past or overcome. And I just disagree with that. So I really felt things from Willow's point of view this second time I read it. And she does eventually find her space and come into her own at camp. But I also think like she doesn't really have to. It's okay that she doesn't really want to be there or do the same things or reach out and have a bunch of friends. Anyway, I'll be curious to hear from some of you on your takes with these girls and their dynamic at camp. I have read a couple of the other Olive books and I really like them because they touch on a lot of the things that happen in those middle school years, some of the struggles and changes that go on, but nothing is done overly dramatic or unkind. So I really like that these books are available for navigating some of those tough parts of the middle school years. So this next book is also part of a series, and this one is called Absolutely Nat. This book was published in 2021 and was done by Maria Scrivon. I haven't read any other books in this series, but this book does a really good job of catching the reader up with all the different characters. So Nat is also at camp with her best friend, but she ends up in a different cabin than her best friend. She ends up in a cabin with her former best friend and another girl who is very unique. Nat's struggle in this book is overcoming her fear of swimming in the lake. So she has some very imaginary, but also very strong feelings and fears about swimming in the lake. And she keeps missing out on camp opportunities as she keeps delaying facing this fear. This is such a sweet book, and it definitely has the feeling of a continuous story, but within that, it almost feels like extended comics. So each scene kind of plays out like a lengthy comic strip with sort of an ending or a punchline to each one, which is really fun. I also love that there are pages scattered throughout the book with sort of itemized lists or fun little labels like this one. I cannot wait to read about Nat in some of the other books in this series. I'm looking forward to that. And the last book I have for today is Sunny Makes a Splash. This book was published in 2021. It is by Jennifer L. Holm and Matthew Holm, who also created the Baby Mouse series, which I've not read, but I know it's very popular. And the coloring in this book is by Lark Pien. In this book, it's the late 70s, and Sunny is on the brink of teenagehood, and it's summer, and her friends are out of town, and she is bored. So quite by chance, she ends up getting a job at the snack shack at the local pool. And we just see her summer unfold as she works at the snack bar with a boy from school, and she gets to know him and the teenagers who are lifeguards. We see her mom kind of struggle with her daughter having some of this newfound independence. And while it's not a focal point, Sunny also has a fear that she is trying to face during the summer months of going off the high diving board. And Sunny is part of another graphic novel series, so I'm very excited to check out more of those as well. So those are my 4 graphic novels for summer. I know there are plenty more out there. Feel free to share any of your favorites below. Just wanted to share these ones while I had them on my radar and while it's still summer. Hope you enjoyed. Feel free to check out my website for book bounding ideas for these books, and you can check out the link below for what book bounding is, and hopefully I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.